Welcome to Swiftly Spoken, a fan-made Taylor Swift podcast in which we break down her lyrics, deep dive into full album retrospectives, and theorize about what may be coming next. As always, we are your hosts Cameron and Lisa, and in this episode, we're going to be breaking away from our Speak Now Taylor's version content to discuss all the new Taylor content, which involves 2 Midnights editions, remixes, a new song, and a music video. So, as everyone is aware, a lot has happened in the last couple of weeks. So we're just going to kind of break down everything, give our thoughts, run through some confusing details, and just kind of chat about everything because there's so much to talk about. So firstly, to kind of start off, obviously Midnights has now another 2 editions, and a lot of people have been maybe confused, or maybe there is still some confusion between the differences and why. So we'll quickly kind of break those down. So Lisa, what are the kind of 2 editions?
Right, so on the one hand, we have the Til Dawn Edition, which is exclusively available on digital platforms right now. And it's the one with the sunset vibe on the cover, which we'll be getting into in just a second. And just to mention the other one before we go into that one, it's called the Late Night Edition, which currently is only available physically at those 3 MetLife shows that Taylor performed at this last weekend, or the one previous by the time that this episode comes out. It has been put digitally online as well, so you can access it for the people who weren't there. But anyway, that one has the dark blue and silver cover, so that's how we can differentiate them both. So let's firstly go into the Til Dawn Edition. This one is the one only available on digital platforms, and like I said, sunset vibe to the cover. How are you feeling about this change of cover, inversion of colours on it, a darker background?
Oh,
Right. Yeah.
The Till Dawn is just
Yeah.
no,
I guess I get it
bad.
because, like I
Late
said
Night we'll
to
get
you,
into, but
yeah, like I said to you, I guess it's like more than a sunset. I guess it's kind of a sunrise, really. Like the blue is
yeah.
at the top, and then the sun is kind of coming up, and I guess that's why, because till dawn. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't like the orange. Go away. We don't want you here.
No. I think it just needs to be one. I don't know. It's just confusing. It is a bit confusing. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but not really my vibe.
So let's talk about the contents of this edition, which basically it's strange that we have 2 editions when the contents are so very similar, but we'll get into why we believe that there's 2 and not just 1 in just a second. So on this one, the Til Dawn Edition, we have all of the standard tracks plus all of the 3am tracks. Then we have Hits Different, finally on streaming platforms. I can't believe how much people adore this song and how big it's gotten
Yes.
just for being released on streaming platforms.
It's mental that it's like charting and stuff, and realistically, it has been reasonably available online. Like,
Yeah, I got
for a
I got
while,
a
like,
copy, and you and I,
yeah,
we're not
and
we're international, so
no, exactly, and obviously physical. You can get it on the physical.
yeah.
So it's not been like difficultly impossible to find or like so exclusive you just cannot get access to it. And for a while, I think it was like a podcast on Spotify, so you could listen to it quite freely.
Right.
I believe that it was across like YouTube and things, and on Tumblr. So there was quite a lot of ways to listen to it. But it's mad how kind of bonkers people have gone for it. And I've seen lots of people, to be fair, that were saying that they were avoiding
Oh
all of
wow.
the other versions. So
Okay.
we're waiting for it to come on streaming. So maybe that's why. I'm not too sure, but it is exciting that it has finally come on streaming. But obviously, if you've kind of had it for a while, it's not as exciting. But for people that haven't, it is really, really exciting. So I'm glad that we have now got it and it's got like
Definitely.
a proper home. But yeah, it's interesting. It's the weirdest thing is when I see it with that Till Dawn cover, because for me, I put the lavender cover on mine.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
So
did
it's a
I.
bit weird seeing it with. I'm like, oh no, it's the lavender.
The colour of that song,
Yeah,
the vibe it emanates is lavender. Like, don't give it to me in this
exactly.
sunset, sunrise thing.
Exactly, yeah. But it's funny that obviously now it's got 2 homes, and the weirdest thing, and we'll get into this a bit later, is that technically no version of Midnight is complete.
No,
Like no versions of the Midnight's album is complete.
no.
There's always something missing from one. But it's interesting that Hits Different has now got 2 official homes, one being digital and streaming, one being physical. But
Yes.
that is quite exciting. But the other obviously exciting bits are the 2 remixes.
Right, yeah. So this is the new content that we have gotten on this edition, and the 2 remixes obviously are Snow on the Beach with More Lana Del Rey and Karma featuring Ice Spice. So let's go to Snow on the Beach first, because obviously it's a song that we already had with Lana Del Rey, but now we have even more of her. Although there's not just that as the main change, that is like the biggest thing, but there's a lot going on that has changed between the two songs, I have to say.
Yes. Yeah, there's some kind of like production elements, and the ending is slightly different. And some of the pronunciations of and the kind of vocals are different, which is quite exciting. Um, as you are aware, and I'm probably
Yeah,
probably all the listeners are aware, I'm not the biggest On the Beach fan. I
right.
love Lana Del Rey, but again, I'm not like a massive, massive fan. So like, I just think this just should have been the original from the beginning. Like, it
Okay.
should have had this much Lana Del Rey on it anyway, because it's got her featured. But I'm not a big Snow on the Beach fan. I'm not a crazy massive Lana Del Rey fan. I don't really listen to Snow on the Beach as it is, so I probably won't really listen to the More Lana,
Right.
but
So this
I
was
appreciate it and
very
think it's cool.
okay. So this was a
But
very
for me, it was like,
yeah.
cool,
It's
yeah.
there, but you don't really care too much. I
But that's the thing. It's like, I appreciate it. I'm like, yeah, that should have
right.
been the original. It's,
Yeah.
in my opinion, it's like, that's a collab.
I'm
But
glad
if it's not a song that
for
you're like mad about,
yeah, I get you. I completely understand because if you didn't enjoy the original, there's not really a reason to pull you back, except for if you are a Lana fan. And I am glad for
Mm.
people who wanted this from the beginning because, like you
Oh
said,
yeah,
in a way, this is how it should have been. However, I personally am a fan of the original over this one, just because I love the outro of the original. I love that it's coming down, it's coming down.
it's coming down.
Yep. When they took that away from me, I wasn't happy. And secondly, although this one is so ethereal, I prefer how Taylor enunciates and sings the verse, to be honest. For me. But like I said, for Lana fans, this is great. And I love to hear a different take on that very same verse. And
Yeah.
the biggest thing for me is that it really shows and portrays how different artists really, spin things. Like you can have a song written by the same person and two people interpret it in completely different ways,
Totally different ways.
and it really changes the effect that that song has on you. So I love to see it, and I'm glad we've got it. I definitely am. But yeah, for me, I do prefer the original more. I still love the song, so at least that counteracts your dislike for it. but yeah, I get
I don't dislike. I think I'm growing.
right.
It's
It's
just
just there.
it's just a song that,
Yeah.
like, when Midnight's is playing, I don't skip it, but I
Right.
never go out of my way to, I don't think, you know what I really want to listen to? Snow on the Beach. That
Yeah.
thought's never gone through my head ever. So, it's just one of those. But from one remix to the next, when you talk about disappointing, I think
Right.
Karma featured
Okay.
Ice Spice is, for me, disappointing. I just think it just lacks like a real oomph about it. Like, they kind of slowed down Ice Spice, and I don't think her verse is bad at all, but I just feel like the slowing down just removes the kind of
It's
flow of the song,
a strange
and it makes Taylor's
placement.
bits not seem as umphy. It's just really weird.
It's a strange placement for me, I think.
Mm,
And because you kind of taken away the second verse, in a way, even maybe we could have left that verse and then added a section and then gone into the bridge.
yeah.
That Ice Spice's section and then the bridge, because just like you said, I love what she adds. I love the lyrics that she's created. I think they play with the same kind of imagery that Taylor establishes in the song Karma, and I love
Yeah.
that. So that means, to be able to go toe to toe with what has already been written is a very difficult feat. This is something that we commented on when we spoke about previous remixes, and we said how difficult it is for other artists to go onto a song which has already been established and written and add something to it without it feeling,
To it.
cheapened or the comparison is always going to be there, right? So that's a very difficult thing to overcome.
It's always hard to beat an original.
Definitely, especially when people are so
and
used
as
to
we've
it.
mentioned exactly, and as we've mentioned in that previous episode, there's very few remixes that have ever beaten the original. And I think the problem is when you have such a solid remix like Bad Blood featuring Kendrick Lamar, which just smashes the original out the park, like production, just everything. Like, Kendrick just eats that song alive. Like, the pair of them just sound incredible. And I don't know, it just felt like something was just like something just wasn't clicking. I was like, it's not bad, but it's just not like, oh, this is really cool, or this is adding like a cool. It just felt a bit, I don't know, and maybe some of the like facts just cringed me out a little bit. Like,
oh right,
some
okay.
elements of it, I was like,
I have to say
okay.
that I was a bit not too sure about some parts of it until I saw it performed, and
Yeah,
I love them performances. I think it was so endearing to see them together. I was like, "Oh my god."
yeah.
I don't know, to be a small artist and suddenly pop up in front of 70,000 people, that is, like, crazy in
Must be
itself. But she
crazy.
did
Oh, yeah.
such a good
The and
job.
her and her career at the moment, her career trajectory is, like, mental considering I don't believe she's even released, like, a debut albums, and she's got, like, a song with Nicki, a song with Taylor, like, she's performing,
Exactly,
yeah,
yeah,
like you said,
this
in front of
attests to
like, tens of thousands of people, like, that's mental. Hit songs, like, it's crazy, and that's the annoying thing is there was I just felt like I don't know, I just felt like there could have been more out of it. The music video, on the other hand,
right,
loved
yeah.
it.
Okay, so that's great, that's really positive. For me, it lacked a bit of a narrative because I am a bit I am a bit like, I want a story, but at the same time, I get what
Mm,
it is. Stunning visuals more than
yeah.
an actual storyline going on, and there's a lot of symbology, a lot of allegories going
Lot
on of
Yes.
different representations of karma, but at the same time mixing it with imagery, I believe, to tease 1989 and Reputation. I really do
Oh,
think that, like,
1,000,000%,
there's
yeah.
no other way for me
Oh,
to
yeah.
explain certain scenes if not in that manner. But yeah, a lot of
Oh, yeah.
metaphorical images, like, placed, like, one after another, and since it's kinda like it shifts from one after another in such a strange way that for me, it was a bit like, "Oh, okay, we're here. We're a light bulb
Y
now. Okay, I get
To be fair, yeah, yeah,
it."
to be fair, you barely kind of consumed one of the visuals before the next one was kind of, like, quickly spun in your face.
Mm.
Like, the kind of hell bit with Taylor, like, looking like her Reputation self was just, like, I barely even kind of dealt with her being Justice,
Yeah, the scales.
figure,
Yeah.
and it was like, "Phew," yeah, and then it was, like, spun into Reputation, then, "Phew," we were spun into, like, Dorothy,
Mm.
like, and the Wizard of Oz, and then it was like, "Phew," yeah, we've spun again. It was just like, wow, I'm struggling to keep up with it, and it did, and it was interesting. I don't think we really had a music video like that from Taylor, where yeah, it doesn't have like a really strong kind of storyline going through it, or like a just like consistent visuals, because the visuals were just so different from each
Yeah, and
other.
we never
It
go
wasn't even
back
that they
to
were
anything.
consistent.
We like
No,
it's forward motion through the whole thing, and I'm sure that in time, and I'm sure that people on the internet have broken this down in a much better way and gone through every
mm.
single visual, but in general,
Oh, there's so many.
yeah, there's a lot going on, but in general, what we can say, like I just mentioned, a lot of 1989 Reputation imagery, which again, that's something that happened in Bejeweled in a way with Speak Now, so that
Yes.
scares me a lot.
Mm,
But that's there. And then I feel like a lot is inspired, or many of the images are inspired by Greek mythology. We
mm,
have Taylor as Themis, who is the goddess of justice at the beginning with the scales. Then she's Charon, who is the person who rows the boat on the river Styx that transports like souls and stuff. Which, when I saw that in the original Spotify canvas before, I was like, okay, one, we have an MV, and two, oh my god, that's Greek mythology, which I love. So yeah, but looks, that's all I can say. Oh, the
yes.
particular ones that I absolutely loved, which we see for like split seconds, but the hourglass is one of my absolute favorite visuals, and the symbology behind it, like time slipping
Yes.
through your fingers, like
And also her
literally.
like bathing in like being happy with both,
Yeah.
like being happy with like the passing of time and bathing in the passing of time was just really interesting. And then that flipping into like her eyes, and then like a kind of bit of a reference and a bit of a callback to like Blank Space with that initial like close up face visual, and then kind of pulling out
Mm.
onto, you know, Olivia the cat, which obviously
Oh my
references the
god,
Karma
Olivia
lyric,
being
and
there,
then
what, how
it's just
iconic.
exactly, it is just so there was just so much to, initially I was so consumed by it all, I think I missed a lot. When then you do start to pause it and look closely, you can be like, oh, there's that references that, which references this, which references that. So yeah, there is a lot to kind of, even just at the end when she's holding the coffee and one of her thumbs or
Yeah.
fingers has is like blue and the other one's black, which is obviously the 1989 and Rep album covers, which is quite exciting that potentially we could get more teasing of that, which is really, really cool. I do think some of the imagery was slightly random, like the Wizard of Oz Dorothy
I know, it throws
imagery.
me off, and again, that's why I'm saying I'm sure that there's dissertations out there that really break this all down, but it's not so much the understanding of what she wants to convey, because obviously, she keeps her side of the street clean and
Mm,
yeah, but
yeah.
it's more the sequencing of the images one after another, which some obviously do have a common thread, like I'm saying with
Mm,
the Greek mythology and things like that, and others being trapped in the
yeah.
light bulb, being trapped in the hourglass, and they both represent things to do with her her career and how handling of the career and stuff. But then there's some that I'm just like, okay, we're here suddenly. We're on a cat, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're walking up some steps, I guess. The moon and Saturn, I guess. You know.
Which then obviously then references like Seven, the song. Love You to the Moon and Saturn, which is just like, okay, so why are we calling that song out?
I know.
And why are we grabbing onto the moon and Saturn? Like, you know, there is just kind of, there's interesting visuals that I feel like have maybe more of a meaning than we think.
Yeah.
And I really love, I think sometimes some music videos we can just overanalyze when there's not much to analyze.
Oh, definitely. But we're Swifties, so that's just in our blood.
Yeah. But I do love that Taylor does just leave so many hints. When you think of like the Midnight's music videos, Anti-Hero, not so much. So.
Right.
There's some, but not to like a Bejeweled or Look What You Made Me Do kind of level. And then obviously Bejeweled is just loaded with them. Lavender Haze is more just references Midnight's rather than anything else that heavily. It more just kind of references itself. And then obviously now we've had Karma, which is interesting because there was also a debate as well, wasn't there, about whether there was going to be more Midnight's music videos. And obviously from that initial trailer, we only got 3.
That's like true.
The first 3.
But obviously...
So Karma clearly wasn't planned.
Not from the beginning.
As a music video.
And obviously because this is an Ice Spice remix that we've got the MV for, then, you know, it had to have been done earlier on this year. No, it's all very interesting. And do let us know your thoughts and your interpretations of the Karma music video.
Yes,
what was your favourite outfit? What was your favourite scene? And what did it make you think of?
Yeah, and I'd love to know more, like, maybe things that aren't so obvious and some Easter eggs and things like that. I just love seeing it. Even if I'm like, nah, I don't think so. I just love seeing what
that's the fun thing, because I've seen, like, 3 different people interpret the Hourglass scene in 3 different ways. And then I've seen, like, the light bulb scene. I do think it is like her saying, look how bright I can shine, and then she shines so much she explodes, which is very Dear Reader coded. But then other people have said, oh no, it's because she's got so much overflowing with ideas that she's kind of bursting the seams. And I've even seen some people say that they completely burst because it signifies the end of the Midnight's era and perhaps even the beginning of the TS11 era, which is very scary to me. But yeah, so
oh my god.
Exactly. So let us know your thoughts and your interpretations of the visuals and of these 2 remixes in general.
Yeah, and Hits Different, if Hits Different is the first time you've listened to it.
Exactly, if you've held off from it, yeah. Moving on to the other edition that we also got. It's called the Late Night Edition, like we mentioned, and as we said, it's currently physically not really available. Do you think that we're going to get it at some point physically for everyone?
I hope so.
So do I.
I hope so. I feel like they've made it, I don't know, it's weird. It feels, when you look at the kind of design of it, it does feel slightly rushed.
Right.
Because there's no like lyric booklet, it is a poster, and all the photos are just kind of tour photos.
Yeah.
From the kind of inside,
the back,
behind the CD, and the back, But I do think that Taylor and her team, they know how to market stuff. For God's sake, they've literally like rebranded the lavender vinyl because it's been pressed slightly differently in a different country as a totally different variant, when it just isn't. Like, it's still the lavender. It's just made in Canada rather than wherever the original was made. It's like, here's the Love Potion vinyl. So I just feel like they would be missing out on the biggest trick ever to just sell it. I feel like what they're going to do is, it's boosted Midnight's. I think Midnight's is probably going to go #1 again in the States.
Let's hope.
So they'll just release it a week later and then just boost more sale. You know, they know what they're doing.
I feel like it might be staggered. Maybe it will be like a tour stop exclusive for a while, and then in time become like a general. And I know that's quite annoying to us international fans for right now, but at the same time, again, things are quite accessible, which we'll get into. And also I remember how supposedly limited all the Midnight's editions exactly
were
what I
across
thought.
CD and vinyl, and they are widely available everywhere. I go into HMV, they are still selling all the versions now. So I would be amazed if not, but it's interesting. It is interesting.
It is.
When mentioning the covers, obviously the first one neither of us were big fans of. What about the just dark blue? How are you feeling about
Yes,
that?
yes. I love it. I love it. I have to say, I love the
Me
look
too.
of this one because it is Midnight's, right? Midnight's is not white. Midnight's
Yeah.
is that dark blue. The silver of Midnight's, instead of it being in blue, like it's been flipped, obviously, but instead of white, it's silver, which I love. I
Yeah.
love the design of the inside, the outside. It's all really, really great.
Me too. The CD itself, I think, is gorgeous. That kind of
Yes,
dark
that dark
blue as
blue, that's
well.
what I mean. It reminds me of her VMA after party outfit where she was wearing dark blue with the
Yes, it
silver
does.
stars. It really does.
Silver.
And I
Yes.
love that color so much.
And
So
I love as well the fact that the back is the full clock. What's
yes,
annoying is that it's not the full version. Like, it's not a complete. If it was the totally complete version
I
of
know.
Midnight's with hits different, all the 3 a.m. plus, like, to be fair, I wouldn't really care about the like strings remixes, but you can have those in there for a bit of fun.
Yeah.
And obviously the 2 new remixes, Lana and Ice Spice, that would be cool with the full clock. But I do still like the fact that it's got the full clock. And
It
even
feels
though
painful though, doesn't it? That this one should have been the one,
yeah,
in my opinion. It should have been the one, or even
the
the other one.
total
One of them had to be the full one.
yeah, exactly. But I do like that, and I like the fact that even Taylor's arms, weirdly, her placement of her arms look a bit like she's kind of the clock.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how intentional that was, but I do really quite like the design. The only thing that I do think is a bit of a letdown is the poster, because the cover is like a corner of one of the posters. So one of the posters you can't really use as a poster because you'd have like the album cover on the like right hand side of it.
That
But
is
whatever.
true.
I do, and it's a shame that we haven't got a CD booklet because I always love a CD booklet.
Yeah, I do as well.
But yeah, I do think it's quite cool anyway, and it is just quite exciting to have another version. I know this album's got so many; it's getting a bit crazy.
It is a bit, yeah.
But I quite like the packaging, and I'm a bit of a CD nerd when it comes to things like that. So it's interesting to see the way that they've gone with it. It almost feels a bit Taylor's version in its packaging with like tour photos.
It does. That's such an interesting observation. It really does. And just like Taylor's versions, we have a few changes to the track list.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, I do want to say that everything that you've been pointing out does lead me to agree with you and believe that it was more of a rushed onto physical kind of thing, because obviously it takes quite a lot of time to prepare a physical edition of anything. So all of these little things like, oh, don't print a booklet, just make it a poster, that saves a lot of time.
Yeah.
Make it one CD, that saves a lot of time, which I know we can get into a bit of a debate here as to why some songs have been cut. And I am giving Taylor quite a lot of grace when I'm saying that maybe it's only because she wanted to fit it on one CD instead of like make it a double CD album. But I think other than that, the reasons are a little bit pointed. So the CD contains all of the standard tracks, but not all of the 3 a.m. tracks, which is such... It saddens me so. Anyway, so the ones that have been cut are Glitch and Paris, which she's come for us personally, because Glitch is my baby and Paris is your baby. So
exactly, it is a bit. It is the thing. The weirdest thing about it is that, because I was trying to think, I was like, okay, maybe we're just jumping to conclusions that it's because of obviously some certain stuff that's happened, and maybe these songs are about a certain person. But then you could argue, well, she's added like a new song that is obviously about that relationship as well, but obviously from a totally different perspective. And she's got so many albums, and she's performing those songs, like lover songs and stuff, and rep songs that are about that relationship.
But even so, like High Infidelity is right there. I mean, Sweet Nothing is right there, although obviously
Nothing
not
is
3
right
a.m.,
there. But I'm guessing you can't really change
not the
kind
standard.
of standard track. But what's frustrating is, like, I don't know, I just feel like, and I was thinking maybe it's because those two songs are like the least streamed or just deemed the least popular, but I just think surely things like High Infidelity and Dear Reader, like I would be amazed if they'd taken off like Would've, Could've, Should've and The Great War, because those two are like the standouts from the 3 a.m. and probably the most streamed. I don't really know myself because I don't really stream music myself, but it is just interesting. It's weird that those two have been removed, and like you said, I feel like we are maybe being a bit gracious saying, oh, it's because they didn't want to fit it all on the...
It would seem a very
physical.
very pointed message in, I'm removing the two very, very lovey-dovey songs and then adding one that tells, obviously, the story of the ending. Yeah.
But I do think that is potentially the reason that there just wasn't enough space on the CD, and they just were like, we want this out now.
And in a way, she was probably like, I don't care about,
yeah.
that
just like, I'll get rid of those
killing, two birds with one stone kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously none of the Midnight CDs are double, but then
No.
all of the Taylor's versions
Ah,
standard are double, but they kind of have to be though because just the mass volume, like you
there's
just
just too
couldn't,
much. Yeah, there's too
you
much.
know, logistically. So I'm not too sure. I think it's frustrating because this would have felt a bit more like a full version
Mm.
if those two had just been added, because then realistically all we'd be missing is
Hits
Hits
different,
Different,
because of course
which I
there
could,
is no hits
which
different in this version either. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Which is
Which
funny.
I could get away with because it's Target
Exactly.
exclusive, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. It just feels like it just feels incomplete, but just so close to being slightly complete. It's just like
I know.
frustrating. It's like if just you put those two songs,
We
I
were
could feel
close.
like at least all the
We were so
yeah, at
close.
least all the 3 a.m. have a physical home,
I
whereas
know.
Glitch and Paris just
That's
don't.
true. None of the 3
It's
a.m.
weird.
The whole 3 a.m. hasn't got a physical home still.
No, which
Maybe
is frustrating.
there
And
is one more edition to end all editions
it's
waiting in the wings.
the all-night edition.
Something. I don't know.
Hopefully,
The
anything. Do you think that potentially it will come to vinyl? Like, because Taylor's been pressing a lot of stuff on vinyl that haven't got a CD release, like Lover, Live from Paris,
Yeah.
Folklore Long Pond. So I wonder if
I'm not
maybe 3 a.m. will
sure.
get a vinyl
Yeah,
and those will be
maybe.
included.
Maybe it could be. Yeah, and I think a lot of people would be glad to see it. I wouldn't, because I don't collect vinyl. But no, for vinyl lovers, that would be amazing. So yeah, keep
Mm.
your fingers crossed for that. That's for sure. And also the vinyl for Midnights in general is just so beautiful. Like even the Love
Oh yeah,
Potion, which is obviously kind of like a a different pressing
bit of a con.
of an original lavender one. It still looks good though.
Mm.
Like that dark
Oh yeah,
purple
it
is
looks.
such a nice color.
Oh, it is gorgeous. I guess the big thing that we're missing out on that we haven't discussed is the brand new track.
Yeah.
Obviously, You're Losing Me, which has been branded in the weirdest way ever as a vault track, as if it's
Mm.
been in some like vault for years and years. When
That's
it's
fresh off the press.
if it had been written, if it had been written during the Midnight's release, obviously technically it's 6 months old, but that song is fresh out of that studio. Like you are not telling me that that song's been vaulted away anywhere for very long.
I feel
It's
like at the
barely
most
the
it's a
dust has
few
barely
months.
settled.
It's a few months, maybe Midnight's
Oh yeah,
release timing, maybe
yeah.
if we're pushing it and but it's definitely
Mm.
not original Midnight's writing and recording, because
Oh
as
no,
we know, most of Midnight's standard version was
it
written
was
with Jack
2021.
in late 2021, and then the 3 a.m.
Yeah,
some of them are as early 2021, which is crazy to think that we
yeah,
haven't
like
really
Jan.
heard from her in um a couple of years really of
Yeah,
updated.
this is like the most up to date kind of song in terms of her current life at the moment.
Yeah.
But I guess ignoring that,
Mm.
how are you feeling about You're Losing Me? Like, what was your first
Wow, it's a
opinion?
song, isn't it? It's definitely a
Oh,
song. It's definitely up there. Isn't it crazy how we've ended here? But apart from that, obviously, heart-wrenchingly written. You got to
mm,
commend her lyricism once again, because this is up there for me with the likes of, Dear John,
oh,
All Too Well, Happiness. It's one of those songs that,
oh yeah,
just pulls your heart out and stomps on it, because it is
rips it apart.
the
Yeah.
way it's written is amazing. And I think a lot of people who are going through similar situations will definitely find uh, that they can find themselves in that song, which is something very classic of Taylor's most devastating
Mm.
songs. And that's why I think so many people connect with her.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's just like so devastating, especially when you put in context all the songs that
Mm,
it kind of references, or obviously is telling a story of. We've kind of watched this story fold from Reputation throughout Lover, and then elements within Folklore Evermore, and then obviously big part of Midnights. So it's just it's quite sad that this is kind of this is how it's kind of ended, or the full circle moment. But I think it's just such a gorgeous song, like that bridge
wow.
with the army section, and then the choose something, babe, risk
Mm,
something, say something, babe. It's just so good, and such a just solid Taylor bridge. Like I just couldn't. Honestly, I know this is a bit dramatic considering we've barely had it a week at this point when
right.
we've recorded this, but it's like top 2, top 3 Midnights for me.
Wow.
Hits Different, Maroon, and You're Losing Me are top 3 for me on Midnights. I just couldn't love them anymore. It's just so good. I keep rewinding that bridge and just listening to it
Yeah.
over and over again, and I
Yeah.
love how it builds, and the drama of it, where she has a kind of sigh. Ah,
There's so much going on. There really is. So we open with a
The
sigh,
heartbeat.
which is just, we open with a sigh, and then the production incorporates a heartbeat, which stops and starts throughout, which is just such a clever,
Yes.
again, Midnights, the production on Midnights, Jack and Aaron, my beloveds, they are so good when they work with Taylor, because together they create a production that lends itself so well to what is being said. And I really think that
it's like cinematic, isn't it?
yeah, it just it envelops you. It really gives the lyrics another meaning. Because obviously, you know, even in You're Losing Me, the heartbeat being incorporated, and then obviously her saying,
my heart
can't start anymore for you, you know, and it's you can hear it at the same time, which makes it just, it enhances it so much more. But yeah, I think a big thing from the very first line, parallels and juxtapositions to so many of her songs that we've got from the last few albums. Like you said, Peace in the beginning, where obviously the whole point of this song is basically the answer is no, it wasn't enough, right? Which is so sad. But yeah,
and then just like Cornelia Street, I hope I never lose you, you're losing me.
Yeah, this is it. Daylight, and the concept of, like, we loved this room, it was so bright, which is a reflection, obviously, of more of a metaphorical reflection of seeing the daylight, and now I just sit and wait in the dark, which is just so... And the portrayal of how she explains things. I could never write something like this, having lived it and going through it, but the themes of sickness and dying, I think, are so incredible. It's such an incredible way to depict the physical toll of a relationship coming to a close, like how drawn out it is. It's like going and seeing someone who's really suffering from an illness, waiting for a cure. She can't find the pulse, hearing the heart in the background, like you mentioned, and then the parts of, like, how can you love someone that you can't tell is dying? You wouldn't admit we were sick, talking about pain, too far gone to bring back to life. All I did was bleed. And it brings me back to another parallel with All Too Well, where we have her talking about not just being a soldier, which we'll get into, but, you know, returning half her weight, and also being quite...
Held my lifeless frame.
Exactly, yes, which I know is an image that you love from that song.
And then the idea as well of, like, the, you know, of trying to return something that's dead with, like, the 3 months thing.
Yes.
It's just...
Yes, that's another big parallel with All Too Well, yeah. So yeah, I really do think her songwriting holds itself up in such an incredible way, which to depict such a delicate theme in this manner, it's really devastating.
So good. It's like top tier Midnights, and like really strong throughout her career. Ironically, for me, the two like bonusy tracks, like Hits Different, You're Losing Me, are like my two of my favorites.
That's funny.
Like, I love Hits Different so much, and I really, really love You're Losing Me. I'm interested to see how it stands the test of time for me.
Right.
But normally ones that scream out as like, I love this initially do stay quite solid, but it isn't, but you never know. Sometimes over time, other ones weirdly start to stand out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am loving it. And just so glad we got it. It's just so exciting to get more Taylor music, and we've been so blessed.
Oh yeah.
I think newer fans don't realize how lucky we are. Like, we had to wait, it would be like 2 years, like minimum.
Yeah, constantly. Like, obviously we would get some droplets, but then, like, during the drought of 1989 Reputation, we got like what, 2 songs in like 2 years basically.
Yeah.
So, which she needed
and even
that
Reputation,
time,
we never got a deluxe version.
No, that was it. We got Reputation, as she well said. That was all we were gonna get. And then obviously she did cut down the time from Lover, and then since then she just hasn't stopped, which is crazy to think that after so much production, the level and the quality of the songwriting that is coming out is still
staying.
Exactly.
This is the thing that's so impressive. Is that the volume that's coming out it's not like quantity over quality.
No.
Like, the quantity's there, but the quality is staying the same.
Exactly.
Like, the songwriting's still top par, the production's still top par, the songs themselves are still hitting and are still like, oh, okay, she's not getting worse. If anything, she's getting better.
It's crazy.
Getting more established. I feel like she's proper, since Folklore and Evermore, she's really like come into her own. Even when you see her perform on like the Eras tour, I just think she's aware of who she is and what she wants out of her career, and like it's just she just seems, even when she's performing versions of herself like Reputation, she's doing it in such a more like clearer. It's hard to describe, but there's just so much more
I think,
clarity in the way she's
honestly,
doing it,
that
and
has a
she
lot
feels
to
more
do
comfortable.
with the re-recordings. I really do think that,
Yeah.
in a way, that has shifted, I think, a lot of people's perspectives, not just hers, but I do think it's shifted their
Mm.
perspectives on looking at older music and being like, no, you don't have to completely destroy it to go on to the next thing. You can learn from it and take
Mm.
it with you. And well, something that I've always said that I loved about Taylor's music is the parallels that it creates within it and how well she establishes a narrative that can run through a
Mm.
lot of different albums. And I love that now she's revisiting those albums, unfortunately, not in the best way possible. But at the same time, I think it's creating a healthier relationship between her and her career and what she's already made,
And her music,
and
yeah,
knowing where she wants
exactly.
to go with that. Going back to You're Losing Me Once Again and going through the
Mm.
parallels that she's established, because this one really hurts me, but have you thought of like the Great War and then You're
Yes,
Losing Me?
yes,
Because it's
yes.
painful, because in the Great War she like
Mm.
calls off the troops and she's like, no, I'm calling
Yeah,
off the troops. However, in You're Losing Me, she's part of the army and the
and
other
she's like,
person is
yeah,
dealing
front lines don't ignore me.
the final blow, which is so,
Mm.
like, in the end the Great War wasn't
And
won. Oh,
no, and the idea as well of like the Phoenix, and that, you know, that she kind of mended all her
mm,
gashes, but you might just have dealt the final blow. Like the fact that, you know, she got over all those things, and like, and it kind of calls back to like the King of My Heart lyric of like, is this the end of all the endings? My broken bones are mending. And also lyrics within like Evermore and Folklore, within like Peace and like
oh,
Long Story Short. And then the fact that it's like, and just the idea of the Phoenix constantly having to re-rise. And also it kind of calls back to a Labyrinth lyric as well, with like having to kind of bounce back, and the idea of rising from a phoenix, the whole Reputation era, obviously. And just having to, and then again, even with all the stuff that happened with their re-recordings, having to just rise from it all again. It is just so sad and so heartbreaking.
it is.
Um,
It is.
and not to be that person,
Mm.
but I think the shaky lyric in Last Kiss, we should be fine.
Right.
I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
Because the emotion, I feel
exactly,
like she can
she's able to draw emotions,
do it.
definitely, which
Oh yeah.
is equally heartbreaking, but I think that also
Oh yeah.
leads us to the climax of the whole song, which is that bridge, like you said, which leads us to the end
Mm,
of the song, which is just, oh, it is the final blow for us, as the listeners.
yes.
But
Top
yeah,
tier.
wow, what a
Yeah. Love
bridge.
it.
What a bridge. And
What a bridge. What a
how do
song.
you lay yourself bare like that? Because she's really
I
like, you know, I wouldn't marry me either. A pathological people
know.
pleaser.
Logical people
How do
pleaser,
you
which
say that
again
about
references
yourself?
like so many songs of like
Mm,
and even like that even references like anti-hero, like
mm.
I'm the problem, it's me. And then yeah, like Paper Ring, Champagne Problems,
Ah, the
um
theme of
and even
marriage.
Lavender Haze. Yeah,
Yes,
it's really interesting. I don't know, it's a sad, it's such a sad song, just
definitely.
the way it references previous ones, but is really, really top tier. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah,
But so yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments, because we'd love to hear your thoughts, and maybe some other lyrical parallels that maybe we missed, or other people have missed, or some ones you want to point out. Because I just love analysing songs and referencing things. Like I said, this song has proper brought the fanboy out of me. So
definitely.
yeah,
It's a
very,
brilliant
very
song.
exciting.
And I'm not going to be that person, but I am going to deal you one more devastational thing, one more tidbit that I noticed. And I know how much you find it devastating that in Last Kiss we get that very abrupt ending of just like our last. I find that this
Hmm.
song does the same thing when she says, "My heart won't start anymore," and we never get "For You" again.
Yeah, yes, yes, I found that, and then the track just ends. Like it
Right.
just ends. There's no like fade out. It's just like
And with that,
yeah,
it
it's
just leaves you.
yeah,
Which is
exactly. It leaves you
quite,
like your heart.
yeah.
You're almost like a huh. You're left without a beat.
Yep.
Very
Yeah.
sad,
But
but
like you said,
incredible song.
with that having with us breaking all of your hearts once again by breaking all of this down, let us know how you feel about this new song. Yeah, and give us your favorite lyrics, as sad as they are.
We've now come to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. As we've mentioned throughout, let us know all of your thoughts and theories. And if you did enjoy this episode, make sure that you subscribe over on our YouTube channel. Also like this video over on YouTube, as well as rate us over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And just so that you're in the loop and aware of episodes and when we're releasing them, make sure you follow us over on Instagram as well at Swiftly Spoken Podcast. But thanks again for listening, and we'll see you soon.